Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are excited today to be back with On Friendship. This is the monthly series that we do where we talk about friendship and Hallmark movies from a perspective of relationships as opposed to purely romantic relationships. It's a lot of fun. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Dr. Alysa Lucas is here with me.
Hello, I'm so glad it's the new year and we're talking about a movie about New Year's resolutions because I need a fresh start.
Yeah, this was really fun. We're talking about a New Year's resolution from 2021, and this was really fun to revisit because I had mixed feelings about it last year, and it's not perfect or anything, but it was stronger than I remembered. And I just thought the reason why I thought we should talk about it is it seemed like it had a lot of themes that I thought that it would be interesting to discuss.
Yes, give me all the friendship. Give me her friendship, she needs to get back into her friendships, and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we haven't done an On Friendship since October because of the onslaught of Christmas movies. But
that's right. I think my Christmas movies were in November.
Yeah.
There's so many Christmas movies.
It was so early on, maybe.
Yeah. So the band's back together then, is what you're saying.
No, I haven't seen you in so long. But how was your holidays?
It was good. After last year spending it by myself, I was able to spend the holiday with my parents this year, and I have a new nephew and was able to do some things I wanted to do and also slug around on the couch because my holiday is in between semesters, so I have like a little bit of a longer break than people might usually have. So I did some lounging. How was yours though? Once you had all the movies done, were you able to enjoy the holidays?
Yeah, I watched and reviewed 125 holiday films. And that was really fun. But then I went to Disneyland.
Yay. Yeah, I followed along on Twitter and on Facebook, and it looked like a lot of fun. I've never been to the one in California, so I've only been to Orlando. So good for you.
It was really fun. It was kind of cold and rainy, which was a little bit of a bummer.
I'm from Michigan and it's winter, so
yeah, you're like small violence.
Yeah.
But it did impact because once your feet get kind of wet, it makes it a little bit less fun. But it's still Disneyland, so it's still fun.
Yeah, no, and the food looked amazing and the rides looked fun, and I was like, and I like I said, I followed along, and I was probably lounging on the couch on my phone watching Grey's Anatomy, like, oh, look at Rachel having fun, and I'm like laying here like
Yeah, and then I feel like just maybe the week before is when I kind of started to hear a lot about the Omicron, and then and then I went on the trip, and and then I got a little cold, and I was of course worried that it was COVID, but no, it was not. So thankfully.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like I was kind of lucky to get one more trip in before all of this, and I'm already feeling like the jitters of like, I gotta get out, I gotta go do stuff.
She's got her next trip, her next play, the next musical, the next movie. No, I understand. Like after being in lockdown and then working from home for a year, I finally took a little vacation in August, and I went on a zoo tour because I felt like better about like being outside and I did it by myself, but I also was able to see friends. And so
it was a creative idea.
Yeah. And I only like zoos that are obviously focused on preservation and conservation, but my favorite zoo is Cincinnati because of Fiona the hippo, and she's my favorite. And when I was there, this is really neat. I paid for a behind the scenes experience. Now, the hippo one was too expensive for my checkbook.
Yeah.
But I got to do one with these little blue penguins, and it was so fun. And I got to learn about the penguins, and I got to hold, it was cool to be able to go behind the scenes and see what happens with the zookeepers and such. So hopefully I'll be able to do it again once it gets warmer, because as a reminder, I live in Michigan and it's winter.
And Michigan winters are brutal. They are.
It probably could be worse, like in Minnesota or Canada.
Well, I just know I lived up
but it is.
in northern Indiana.
Mhm.
I lived for one winter.
Yeah.
It
Well, here's the
was
thing. Michigan is surrounded by the Great Lakes, so we get a lake effect. So
yeah.
I don't know what that all means in science terms, but what I do know is that a lot of times Michiganders would say it wouldn't be so cold without the wind.
When it's that humid cold that just like
Yeah.
that lake effect. Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it gets you, man. Ooh.
Yeah.
I was in
That's
Angola,
why I'm in
Indiana.
Dorsey's.
If we have any listeners from Angola, Indiana, it sounds
I've never
someplace
heard of it.
tropical. It's not. It's freezing.
They're probably cozied up to their fireplace listening right now. Hi, friends.
Yeah, I love Angola. It was great. But anyway, I think the movie that we're talking about is set in Minnesota or Wisconsin. I can't remember. One of those.
I don't remember.
Milwaukee.
Yes, Milwaukee, because that was the morning show.
Yeah. Yep. And the summary is: when a morning show producer makes a New Year's resolution to say yes more, she crosses paths with a confirmed yes man who just might hold the key to her biggest story and to her heart. And so what's interesting about this movie is that they had announced it as part of Countdown to Christmas 2020. And then for some reason, it just was skipped and not part. They didn't air it. I don't know why. Yeah. And then they aired it as part of Winterfest for 2021. And so who knows why?
Maybe they're just like, we need more movies later, and this one can fit into Winterfest.
They were prophetic in their because it was harder to make movies in 2020 for 2021.
Absolutely.
But yeah, anyway, it was written by Sarah Montana, and Sarah Montana did one of my favorite, Love to the Rescue, which we should probably do that one of these days for On Friendship. I loved it so much. And she is still one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done.
Oh, nice.
She actually has a very moving TED Talk if you are ever looking for some inspiration. She had a family tragedy in her life and her family, and she talks about forgiveness, and it's a really good one. And then this is directed by Leslie Demitriadis. I always butcher her name. I'm so sorry, Leslie, but she's delightful. Great too. So it has a really fun pedigree, and I do love Michael Rady. I think he is so good in these movies.
Is he the guy from Ugly Betty?
I'm not
Who is he? He looks so familiar, and I apparently didn't use Google then. I decided to wait into this moment right now, but I was like, he looks so familiar. And I was like,
I'm seeing if he was on Ugly Betty. He was on Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yes. Okay.
He was like Costa on Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. As a lot of people know him from that, but he has had a number of other shows, and he was on Jane the Virgin.
That's it. Okay. Okay. I feel better now.
He's very charming. I really enjoy him. And it's tough with Amy Teagarden because she's just so Friday Night Lights angry teenager to me, that it's very difficult. And she just has a young face, and it's hard for me to picture as anything else other than
Julie. Here's the thing. I love Friday Night Lights, and I love her storyline in it because my favorite character is Matthew Saracen. Spoiler alert, they date. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was excited when I saw her name because I was like, Friday Night Lights. And then when I saw it, I was like, when was Friday Night Lights on? Because to me, she did look like an adult. But the issue for me was it felt like there was a major age difference between them, which there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I don't think that's common in Hallmark movies.
Yeah,
so I feel like she was more mature looking and older than I remember her from Friday Night Lights, and I just rewatched that like in the last 6 months. And then,
Yeah.
but I felt like with him, like, yeah, she might be like Leonardo DiCaprio, where like one day she'll just look old.
Well, there's an 8-year difference between them, so that is a
That's
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty, and I do think that affects the chemistry of the movie.
Mhm.
But for whatever reason, I was able to kind of put that aside this watch, and it didn't bother me too much. I think the
Mhm.
script is pretty good in this one. I do think that some of the I don't think we needed all of the bank fraud stuff. Like I feel like they could have just had we didn't really need that much conflict. They could have
Yeah.
just been like, oh, we're doing fun goals. And
Yeah.
like I don't think we really needed that, but
Yeah, let's
uh
just inspire and get people excited about getting outside their comfort zone.
yeah.
You're like,
But
when did this become a Law and Order? We have fraud.
right. That's right.
We
I
need
mean,
the FBI, please. Thank you.
I mean, overall, I guess, what did you think of the movie?
Well, okay, so I agree with you that like I liked them individually. Both very charming. I can see both of them in other movies. And as I was Googling on the side when you're talking, I see that he's been in a number of Hallmark movies. I don't know how many she's been in, but I think she will be delightful over the years, especially as she ages a little bit more, but she's like, it's just my face. Like she has good
Yeah.
genes, you know?
Right.
And so that'll be, but I thought they were both charming separately, but I did have a slight chemistry issue with the two of them. But overall, I enjoyed the idea of the resolutions and following the fact that her last year of life has like she's been overworked, which I think is something that people can resonate with during the pandemic, right? Everything feels exhausting and is tiring and you know that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so and it's sort of like maybe she's put aside her relationships. And this is one of the movies I would say, how many years have we been doing on friendship? This is one where there was truly the like
Friends.
hardcore friendship in there. And then they were like, I knew she wasn't going to show up. Like she stood up her friends and there was conflict and then they got her back because her resolution was to say yes. And so
Yeah.
they got her
I
to
do feel like
so I thought it was fun. I thought the
yeah.
idea was fun. I didn't think the chemistry of the couple was 100.
I do agree. I do feel like that whole idea of having this sort of core group of friends that, you know, is together all the time and expects all this stuff of each other. It is maybe something that's more part of your 20s than your 30s. I mean, because like I was thinking about having people over for my birthday, and which probably won't end up happening because of Omicron fears and everything, which is fine. But
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and the problem with trying to do something now, not only with all of the mess that's currently on, is that I have this little group of friends, but none of them know each other.
Yes. I mean,
Right?
I feel the same. I think there's like two types of people in this world. You either got like the core group where everyone's friends with everyone, and it might be from college or high school or something. And then there's people who are like, this is my friend from high school. This is my friend from college. This is my friend from work. This is my friend from graduate school. This is my friend from my new job. This is my friend. And it's like trying to get all those people together. It's like, they're all only there because of me.
Yeah. Right.
But then again, I feel like I have great taste in friends and everyone should get along, right?
Yeah, but it's I don't even know anybody that really that has like that. I don't know, this sort of that you see all the time in the movies and on television shows, you know, sort of this in their 30s, this group that this urban tribe basically that I feel like that's something you have in your 20s, but then just people get married, people have babies, people move, people and it just I don't know. It's just very rare, I feel like.
Well, and
Maybe.
also one of the things to consider is that people get married later. And so friendship stays the focus a little bit longer, or that people might have kids later or not have kids, or that their group of people sort of, they might shift because now they're friends. Like I was on Zoom with my friend who has kids and she was like, do you know so-and-so? And I was like, I don't. She's like, hey, what's whatever the kid's name, what's Jason's mom's name? Like, so there's like, you have friends because your kids are friends, and so I think it creates different groups at different times. But I also think, like, I've seen those groups exist and I'm like, how did that happen? Like,
yeah, you're so lucky. Like, if you have that, like, cherish it, because it's pretty rare.
I mean, I love my friends. I don't have that, but I love my friends. And,
sure.
And so, like, bringing them together. But yeah, it's not, I mean, even though we can argue about how the show ended or how they betrayed us, How I Met Your Mother is so fun, right? Like the five of them meeting in the bar all the time and just the Friends TV show, there's walking. How do you live across the hall from each other? Like, come on. Like, it's definitely something that TV and movies have set up. And I do think people have that. But I don't.
No. And I think I was feeling sort of an extra degree of escapism whenever she was with her friends. And because not only do I not have that, but I also, if I had it, we can't really gather right now. And so
I
don't know, it was just like especially like escapist. And it was fun to see Patricia Isaac as one of the friends, because she also played the BFF on Harvest Moon, which we just talked about last fall.
And I have ranked because we're gonna do that different episode.
Also was fun.
Okay, sorry. I get excited on these. I love doing these recordings because everything about Hallmark, or at least it feels like you do. Even if you're like, it's like the fun facts are so amazing to me. I love it.
Also, did you notice Adam Hertig from Snowman's is his BFF?
No.
Yes, Adam Hertig.
Oh my God. I think I spent so much time going, was he on Ugly Betty? And it was like the wrong show.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it. Now I'm going to have to go back and take a little look and be like, Snowman's.
Also was fun to see Michelle Morgan, who plays Lou on Heartland, as the anchor, the news anchor. So that was kind of fun. So it does have a good cast, a fairly like kind of more modern feeling cast, I feel like, than some other Hallmark movies.
Absolutely.
I mean, and this one is kind of set in the city, which is unusual. And anyway, it starts out, we get introduced to our characters, and I do think it is very funny that like this bank is so invested in events and having community events. But they
polar plunge, we need to do this thing, we need to do that thing. I'm like, can you do that now? Because I have nothing to do besides watch Grey's Anatomy.
They want all these events, but they don't care at all when like there's massive fraud going on at a level like
fraud. What's fraud?
We're just not going to talk about that, but let's throw another mixer, and but he's in charge. This is his whole job. Like, what a dream job. I want that job.
Fun.
His job is just to plan like community events for the bank.
Yeah.
And they have the polar bear plunge, the New Year's plunge coming up. And I got to give Amy Teagarden some credit, because she went for it, and it was cold.
Can we talk about how she ran in and went underneath the water, and her friend, who we'll get to, basically conned her into it, barely went in and turned around and ran out, and there was like no argument. I would have been like, you made me come and do this, and then you didn't do it.
Now I don't know where in Michigan you live. Are you close at all to the lake?
I'm in the middle of the state. Central Michigan is literally in the central of the mitten.
Okay.
So I'm not by a lake at all.
Okay.
But
so
I have
never
done a polar
experienced
plunge.
You have?
Well, in Mount Pleasant, which is in central Michigan, because you jump into a pool. Like, they set up a pool, and it is the coldest I've ever been in my life. And I advise an organization for college students called Communication Association. And so they raise money to have me jump. And so I got a shirt made. I wore a tutu. My parents came up. I have video of it. I can send it to you if you'd like to post it. And one of my graduate students at the time announced my name, and he was like, Dr. Alysa Lucas. And I was like, oh my God. And I jumped in, and it was so cold. I could not get out. Someone had to help me out. And you can hear my parents who are recording. Where is she? So I imagine a lake is colder than a pool, but I did plunge in a February, and the water was extremely cold. So like I had a moment there with her where I was like, you go, girl. Because it was cold.
Really cold. I have never done a plunge. I have a lot of friends who have, though, because I do open water swims.
Yep.
And so a bunch of them have done, actually. I have several friends who have done the ice mile, which is a challenge that only like less than 50 people in the world have completed.
When you said that, I literally got a chill. I have goosebumps.
And it's like, nope, I don't want to die. I'm not interested in that at all.
Nope.
But
Nope.
they've done it. I mean, I feel like stuff like that is most popular in like, I don't know, Estonia and Finland. And I think like
I mean,
Scandinavia.
I would probably do it again, but like, I'd probably do it if it was like somewhere cool and like Norway, something like that, Iceland, I don't know. Or if it was for a fundraiser, which the polar plunge at Central Michigan was. And so I was like, I'm doing it for the kids. I don't even know what the cause was. I don't remember anymore, but it's like, I'm doing it.
Yeah, because I did go to Texas this last summer, and in Austin they have these I forget the name of it, but they have these it's really cool, where they take the river and they make it into kind of a pool area that it's like this combined mixture of open water and and it was extremely cold. But even then it was still, I think, in the low 60s, but it was chilly. It was cold.
Considering
but it was so hot outside.
I take the hottest showers ever, so like I can't imagine like even doing the polar plunge. I didn't think I was ever going to be warm again. And so, I was that's in there for like 20 seconds.
Yeah, I mean that's so it was in the 60s, let alone in a polar plunge where you're talking in the 40s. Like, woo.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, so major shout out. And then the friend who ran around, I was like,
yeah, it was pretty good. She did a good job. But
I was cracking up.
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Yeah. So basically we get the start where we realize that he is super dedicated to his job because he loves his job. Mm-hmm. And she is super dedicated to her job, I think more because she is that's just her personality. She's like a type A kind of personality. Yes. And and so she misses the Secret Santa exchange with her friends, and she gets there, and
on Christmas Eve, no less. Like, girl, stop working. Sorry.
Yeah, and so he goes to see his sister, And he says, I'll sleep next year. And she says, I have 2 kids. Nothing about the promise of sleep sounds lame to me.
Yeah. Because she's like, are you going to make that your resolution? And he's like, I don't believe in resolutions. But a point about her with the work is one of the things that talking to the anchor, she's the producer of the morning show, is that they are now first place in the morning show in Milwaukee, but way back earlier in the year, like January, the previous year, they were not doing well. So maybe that's why she was working a lot too, is that she could have lost her job if she didn't, or, that pressure to feel like the competing and things like that, which still fits in with the type A and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's also critical why she might be sort of married to the work, if you will.
But I think that since we basically had like events taken from us, I think that this whole message of this movie of like, take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way.
Yeah.
Like, take advantage of it. Don't let it go. Yeah. Don't assume there's going to be another chance. Feels like all the more real. I mean, it
does resonate. It does. Yeah.
Just last week, I went with my parents and saw Hamilton. And then the next day they stopped productions for that until I don't know if they're going to start up again, but anyway, through the end of that week. And I mean, just was such a good reminder to me of like, take advantage of the opportunities you have when you have them, because you never know when they're going to be gone. And I think we all feel that all the more.
And I think, I really enjoyed the story. So like, shout out to Sarah Montana, right? She's the writer. And taking advantage of that, because what you see is that she's working all the time. And so she's really, the friends are not surprised when she doesn't show up to the Secret Santa. And so he doesn't believe in resolutions, but a new year is a fresh start. And I've always liked the start of a new year. Like, let's get last year in our rear view mirror sort of thing. And so I like the idea of the talking about resolutions, and that as a marketer, he can guess what everyone's resolution is going to be. And when they're in the restaurant, him and his friends, the guy from Snowman's, which I totally missed, and they're talking about resolutions, and he's like, I don't believe in them. And then her and her friends and it's New Year's Eve, and they're talking about what the resolutions are going to be. The guy's going to finish his novel. Someone's going to only drink 1 coffee a day. Then you have someone else who's going to go to spin class 3 days a week. And then the main character is like, I'm going to say no to no. Is that what she said?
Yeah.
And I mean, you're going to say yes. So she's going to say yes to everything. And so he kind of becomes involved, like, I can guess your resolutions. And then he seems like pleasantly surprised with what her resolution is. And so I have a question for you. Do you do resolutions? Do you believe in resolutions? Like, what is your take on like that storyline of the resolutions?
Yeah, it's very interesting, because I do plan. I'm a big planner.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily a resolutions person or a goal setter in a way that, kind of a thing. I think I'm more on his side of just embracing whatever comes my way.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm also like glued to my calendar and
I was going to say, Rachel, how do you cover 125 Hallmark movies if you don't plan? But I used to do resolutions, and I find them to be disappointing. And like 2 weeks in, I'm like, I haven't done anything. And so a couple of years ago, I started picking a word for the year, which I think is more about embracing that idea. So I've done word like brave and thrive, and this year's believe.
That's a good idea.
And so like, it's sort of like having a lens to look through things, or sort of a philosophy. And then this year I saw the author Gretchen Rubin, who's done things on habits, and she did the Happiness Project book. She does like, what are 22 things you want to do in 2022? And so I'm like, okay, now this might not seem like a lot. It's a lot for me. So I'm going to try to read 22 books in 2022, and I'm going to try 22 new recipes. Right. And I already have 2 down of those, and I have 1 book done. And so it's kind of like something that's more realistic. And so the goals of her 3 friends, I was like, those aren't going to happen. I was like, no offense.
Well, the
But
most,
it's really hard to commit to those things.
yeah,
But hers, like her friends are gonna keep her to it, but then it becomes a story for the morning show. So then it's like she's held accountable, which is critical for goals and resolutions and things like that. You have to be held accountable.
well, the most common goals are, I think, weight loss, and weight loss and like quitting smoking, things like that.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, I do have some goals, like you were saying with reading. I have goals for that. Like so many of the goals, it feels like things that are out of my control. Like, I'm never really,
you want to go see more musicals and movies and they might not let you, and that's not fair.
Well, it's true. Once I got vaccinated, I set a goal that I was going to support regional local theater as much as I possibly could. And I definitely fulfilled that goal. I saw almost 50 shows.
That's amazing.
In 2021.
And I think, did you do that as like on the 1st of last year, or just once you were vaccinated?
Once I was vaccinated.
Because here's the thing, I'm very much stuck to, I'll start that on Monday. I need a new year, when I should just be like, Alysa, you can start on Sunday at 7:17 p.m. Like, let's that's right now, friends, for those of you listening at home. That's right. And so that's something I think that's why my resolutions and goals and things like that aren't very successful, because I always be like, I'll start that on a Monday or after a semester. But I did like this. I did like the yes, and getting back to your point about like taking advantage of things. Although when she had to say yes to everything, I was like, but what if she has a headache one night? Or what if she's feeling like she just doesn't want to be around people? And I was like, oh, dang it. There's my social anxiety.
I'm like, there's COVID. That's COVID talk. That's not.
Yeah. I was like, what if she...
No, but there definitely
like,
were.
You know what? Not today.
There definitely were times though when I was like, "Ugh, I don't feel like going to a show tonight."
Yeah.
But then I already had the tickets or whatever, and then there was never a time ever that I was like, "Boy, I wish I hadn't done that." And I think that that's so true in life, at least for me. Is there's so many times when I'm like, I don't feel like going to church today, or I don't feel like going to whatever activity. Yeah. But then I go, and then I have a great experience. And I am trying to sort of fight the lazy voice, because after being in, isolation or whatever, you just realize like, wow, I wish I'd taken advantage of that opportunity, and wish I'd done that. And I wish I'd done that. And, I know certain people are going into certain stages of isolation again, which is very depressing. But whenever we're all allowed, or whenever we're all able to embrace life again.
Yeah. You're right.
I think that was something I took away from being isolated, was just stop with the lazy person. Stop lazy Rachel. Lazy Rachel is bad. Lazy Rachel.
Things, though. Sometimes we do need to be slugs on a couch though. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes we just need a day off to just do whatever. And it's okay if you have some of those days. But if lazy Alysa was in charge of her schedule, she would do nothing. So she's not in charge of the calendar. But the other thing that makes me think of is, so my dad was a marathoner and did triathlons when I was growing up. And he always said that, sometimes like, if I want to go for a walk, or I don't run, I work out, go to a class or something like that, he said, even if you don't feel good, I bet you 5 to 10 minutes in, you'll feel better. And like, so the days I didn't feel good or I didn't want to go, I remember that. And I don't think there's been a time when I then went ahead and did the workout. My dad was right. Like, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go tell him, you're right, Dad. And he was like, obviously, right, because dad's,
it's always hard when your dad's right.
But that always sticks with me too, is like sometimes like, we have to fight it's not even so much a lazy voice, just like, I don't want to do that, or I don't feel good, or it could be a scotch of a headache, but maybe getting outside will make you feel better, or and I found it to generally be the case. So my dad's got some wisdom, y'all.
Yes, I agree. Well, and speaking of running, so she has this blizzard run That was
What
like
was that?
this obstacle course.
I was like, is it a 5K? I thought it was a 5K. And then they did like 4 obstacles or something. And
Yeah.
I was like, what? This must be a real small part of Milwaukee that they're planning these events in.
But
particular neighborhood.
Props to Amy Teagard and Michael Rady for being able to do jungle gym bars.
The
like-
one where they were crawling up with the rope, I was like, nah, I probably couldn't do that. Or climbing over something. I was like, I can't do that either.
No.
Here comes that lazy voice again. I can't do that. Can't do that.
Well, there's sometimes lazy Rachel is accurate Rachel, and that was the case there.
Well, yeah, there's definitely times where it's like, no, I legit can't do that. Like, I need to build up to that.
Yeah.
Right?
I did like when they're talking about dating, and it says in her version of dating is cute banter will fall for each other. I'll flake out on him too much and we'll break up, and then I'll end up scraping the cream out of all the Oreos. And then this is the most depressing
Oreos.
romantic comedy of ever.
Or maybe the most realistic, because it's like, yeah, how often do we, like, especially now, like, at least in this case, it wasn't like meeting online or anything like that. Like, they met in person because he went over to the table to ask him about the resolutions and that sort of thing. And I think dating is hard, especially because the majority of that happens online. And so, yeah, I much rather scoop the cream out of my Oreos than go on a bad date. I can control the remote. I got all 3 animals with me. I'm good, y'all.
Yeah. What do you think of the whole speed dating event?
Oh my gosh. Speed dating events always crack me up.
I've only ever done it, I think maybe 2.
I've never done speed dating, but I do use it as an activity when I teach group classes, which has been a while. But usually the groups have to work together the whole semester. And so what I do is as many people as we can do in the hour and 15 minutes. I have desks that face each other, and the students come and they're so serious. Are you on time for class? Like they ask, so think of it as like speed dating. What they're doing is speed meeting their classmates and determining who they might want to work with in a group. And it's so fun to see students do that. But yeah, I've never done speed dating. I don't know if I could do it. I don't like small talk.
Yeah, I mean, you have such a little limited time period. You only have like 2 minutes. I have done it before at church, like various it's been a long
already
time.
Have a foundation of something in common, right?
They have it at our local Comic-Con, FanX it's called. I have never been that brave. I just can't even imagine what that would be like. I should do it just for like
just so you can report back to us.
Just a blog post or something would be hilarious because I can't imagine. I mean, people wear cosplay and stuff. I wear cosplay. Can you imagine like you're all of a sudden sitting next to like
Captain
Dr.
America
Who or something
hello.
like that? You're like, what?
Oh, it's Hawkeye.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry. What am I supposed to do with Bane? Get out of here, buddy.
That's right.
Sorry, I watched Batman the night, the Batman movie today, and then we were talking about Marvel off mic, so that's the first cosplay I could think of.
Yeah. I feel like that would be just too much. I don't think I can take it. Going on a speed date with Hawkeye.
Hi listeners, how many of you want Rachel to go on the speed dating so that we can live through her vicariously? My hand is raised.
Next year.
Okay, let's do it
in September.
But speed dating,
I went to we had Comic-Con, believe it or not, in September because it was just early enough to
people are vaccinated.
It was just at the right time, like it was that they were able to do it. And it was fine. Everybody was fine. And so we all wore masks. And I mean it's a perfect place to go with a mask because you're working in your costume.
Half of it goes into the cosplay. So
if people haven't seen, I was Wanda from WandaVision.
Oh, and that's the show I'm waiting to watch, but I have seen the pictures of your cosplay and I've seen pictures of her. So kudos. I think, and this isn't probably enough of like into cosplay, but I'm really liking Yellow Jackets on Showtime right
Oh, I
now.
heard that's good. I heard it's good.
And so I'm like, can I just get like a soccer outfit or like a letter jacket? And then there is a situation where there's multiple, but I don't want to spoil, but there is 2 girls that wear masks for like, they have like a dance, like it must be homecoming, and you know. And so I'm like, that's it. I'm just gonna wear the mask and like a soccer uniform. I'm good.
But,
I'm not more creative than that, you know.
but here's a question. Are you
Mhm.
afraid of magicians?
Yeah, that was like, I would be far more afraid of clowns by
Yes.
far. Clowns are terrifying. Again, I just watched Dark Knight Rises, or The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, and like, nah, Heath Ledger, no thank you. Clowns from any episode of any procedural show, creepy. Pennywise, creepy. Oh, what's the one from
Poor clowns. They're just
American Horror Story?
Yeah.
From-
American Horror Story Circus. I mean, poor clowns. They're just trying to make everybody laugh.
But are they? There's a serial killer that would go as a clown to kids' parties. No. Okay, so magicians, although like it really comes down to me just being like, how'd you do that? You know, me just like trying to watch and figure it out. But no, I'm not scared of magicians, but clowns, clearly. What about you?
Well, I'm not scared of magicians. I think that they're fun. I don't know if I'm like super scared of clowns, but like certainly I'm not like a horror person. So
Yeah,
in the
Pennywise
horror movies,
is terrifying.
Yeah.
I watched it 2017 with the Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, and the first time I watched it, I paid for it because I didn't see it in the theater because it's a scary movie, and I do better. This is terrible. With true crime than I do with like scary stuff. Like it's the imagery that really bothers me. And I was like halfway through it and I just slammed my laptop shut and I was like, no. Pennywise, no.
I've never
But
seen
really,
it. So yeah,
he's
no
not
thanks.
a clown, he's a shapeshifter, technically, I guess. Okay, let's talk about something more fun than clowns.
But anyway, but that's part of it. So
me.
she's saying yes. And now they're working it into the show, right?
Yes.
And so she is afraid of magicians. And so then they have the magician's there, the pride of Milwaukee, who's a magician.
Is he though?
Yeah, definitely. He also, Tom writes her after their little banter.
Yes.
At the Blizzard Run, he writes her a note that says that it's never too latte to change.
Yeah, that
was
cute. I liked that. That was cute.
Yeah. And so then she said we have this whole conversation about failure and how that really is her greatest fear is failure. And she says being bad at something feels exactly the way it sounds.
Well, the other thing is maybe she's a little bit too much of a perfectionist, which I know. My dad always says I came by it. What does he say? Naturally or organically, which means I get it from him.
And then she says having a firm enough grip on your comfort zone keeps you from failure.
It keeps you from trying a lot of things, like going to see a magician and apparently doing obstacles in the cold.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is something to like, I don't know, knowing your lane sometimes of like, this is what I know. Like I've done enough things in my life that I know what I like and I know what I don't like.
Yeah.
But then there is some value in taking risks. I mean, we've talked about this a number of times on this show, but like even the barista movie, remember? The barista movie,
the one where
and
he
it was like
makes the orders, like he tells people
yeah.
drink.
It's like she should be able to have whatever coffee she wants.
Yeah,
she's a grown adult, she knows. And I feel that way. Like so often I'll go to a place and people like try something new, and I'm like, oh. So because I know what I like. I just old enough, I've learned enough, I know what I like. And then I'll try something new and almost always I'm like, oh,
Well, see, the thing is, like, I'm willing, like, my brother's a chef, and then my other brother, I would say, is an amateur chef. They do a lot of cooking. And so I feel like, there are a lot of things I tried because of that. And my nephew, who is 12, like, the other night, the stuff he was eating, I was like, what? I didn't have avocado until I was in my 30s. What are you doing? Because we just never had it. But at the same time, like, once I had avocado, I was like, how have I missed avocado? Well, guacamole my whole life. And I think it's my comfort zone. I know my lane. I like being indoors. I like going to the local coffee shop. It's called Big B. And I'll say, they're like, can we take your order? I'm like, yes. Could I get an iced dark hot chocolate, please? Which is basically chocolate milk.
What is that?
And then I'll come home and I watch my TV shows and I'm happy. But then I'll go traveling, say, with my friend Tara, and we went to Paris and Prague. And then you try something new, or that's out of my comfort zone, because I know nothing about, like, I know a little bit about France or Paris, and it's like, but then trying some of the food, or your European life versus American life, and I don't know, like, but that doesn't mean I want to do it all the time though either. Like, I get the same order from my bagel place every time. I'm like, all right, I want the dill garlic cream cheese on the cheddar herb bagel toasted slice.
Oh, that sounds so good. You make me hungry.
So yummy. Yeah. So like I understand, like, knowing your lane, but it's like, also, like, maybe we should get out of our lane every so often. It doesn't have to be every day, but maybe enough to see what else is out there and confirm if, like, no, this was what I wanted and this other thing is not what I wanted. So now I know. I tried, I went outside my comfort zone. It didn't work for me. Or I had pickled herring in Sweden. That sounds disgusting. No offense, Swedish friends. But when I had it, I was like, this is good.
That is true. That is, I think, a gift of travel, is that it does kind of, because you don't have that. You're completely out of your comfort zone. You don't have your place or your, kind of a thing. And so it forces you to kind of try things that you wouldn't normally try.
Which I do miss. I mean, I went on my zoo tour, but, like, I've been to a zoo before.
Right.
I had lots of different ice creams. I went to IKEA in Ohio. I don't know.
I liked that when Tom says that his biggest fear is abandonment and gas station sushi. That was funny.
Yeah, that's a good one, because please don't eat that sushi.
They got fancy gas stations in Milwaukee, evidently.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, it must not be fancy if that's what he's afraid of.
And so they have the chili cook-off.
Oh gosh.
And we also get his confession that he doesn't like cheese fries.
What is wrong with people?
I think fake cheese isn't real food and disgusting.
Yeah, that's where I was starting to be like, bro, you're really ruining it for me.
You're like, yeah, I'm losing you. I love Michael Rady.
But cheese fries? Come on. So good. So good.
Yeah. I'd always rather have real cheese than fake cheese.
Yeah, but still. It's cheese. It's cheese. I'm using air quotes. It's cheese on fries. It's potato and cheese. You're in Wisconsin.
Yeah. But then she also learns she learns curling. How to do curling.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, it was good. And curling actually here in Utah became kind of popular after we had the Winter Olympics here.
Yeah. I have a friend who does curling, and she's in Colorado, and I love when she posts stuff, because it's like that is sort of, it's unique. I was gonna say strange, but that isn't the case. But, like, you see the Olympics and you're like, what? Yeah. It's also the people who ski and then shoot. Like, I don't get that, but I love watching it every Winter Olympics, right?
Yeah.
but like when she posts it, it's like so cool to see like it does exist. People do it.
Yeah, I
Like,
went
let me
and
try
saw the
it.
biathlon at the Olympics when they
Is
were
that
here.
what is that the one where they ski
Yeah,
and
where they
shoot?
shoot. Yeah.
Oh my god. The first time I saw that, I was like, what am I watching?
If they have the Olympics in Utah again, you should come.
I will
And we
do
can
that.
go.
I will get
Yeah.
out of my lane. I've
And
never
it
been
was
to Utah.
so I didn't know anything hardly about
Mhm.
biathlon when I went and I went and it was so much fun. They had like I think Swedish or Norwegian or whatever commentators.
Oh, fun.
And they were so into it. It was
Yeah.
intense. They were like, Berndalen, go, go. You know,
I was gonna say, are you sure it wasn't in English? Because when I was in those countries, they were like, we speak English better than you do.
You know,
Miss
it was
American.
in English. It was just
They were so
They were
excited.
obviously Scandinavian, the
Yes.
commentators, and they were so excited. It was contagious. It was really funny when they were
I
like,
love that.
and they could get those like 9-syllable names, you know, like off like.
My name is hard enough to pronounce, let alone.
So she's also like a board game fanatic.
I love board games.
Yeah,
playing cards.
They're playing life together, and I did like the line where she's like, "Well, I'm going to night school and having twins," you know, or whatever it was.
Well, yeah, it's always like wild in comparison to like what your life is. And my friend Sarah and her friend Jen upgraded life. Like they changed the game, added cards, added different things because they're like, this doesn't reflect anything we want. And it was super fun to play because it's like, ooh, I'm gonna have a what do you call it? A chateau, or I don't know, like it was
yeah.
Way fancier.
What would be your like go-to board games?
I love Clue because the mystery aspect of it. And with my friend Sarah, we played a lot of, we just call it trains. So there's, I think, an American version like
Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, Ticket to Ride. That's it. We just call it trains. We used to play that a lot pre-pandemic. Now she basically kicks my butt at Rummy every time we play, and we'll play like Skip-Bo and I'll get beat there too, but it's just fun to play. But I would say growing up, I loved Clue, and I played it the Golden Girls version with my nephew and my brother.
That's cute.
Yeah. So where's the cheesecake?
I love Pit.
I
like a lot of the card games. I think a little bit more. Phase 10 I love. I love Pit.
I love Phase 10.
Yeah, Phase 10 is really fun. Have you ever played Pit?
No, I have not.
So fun.
You have to have exploding kittens.
You have to have at least 4 people to play Pit. That's the only downside to it.
Yeah. Sarah and I usually play on our own, so it'll be something like Uno or you know, Skip-Bo.
I really love Apples to Apples and
categories is fun if you have a number of people too. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's fun. I mean, I also do love Pictionary and yeah, just any kind of game. Those are fun.
I find that games have become more prominent. Like I've added more puzzles for myself and doing more games with a smaller group of people. So I would be interested if the listeners have suggestions for games that we don't play, because I need more games in my life. And maybe ones that are not like exploding kittens. I also play inappropriate games like what is it meme? And they're like meme ones. And sometimes or like they're cards against humanity. Yeah. I've played those before too. And Sarah, my friend Sarah's really into games. She has done like Kickstarters. There's one that I think it's called Charty Party. And it's kind of like Cards Against Humanity, but you get chart. And so it'll be like some X and Y. Like it sounds hard, but it's super fun. And then there's another one about puns, and you had to like change things based on the category, like food or whatever. And so there's some cool games out there that aren't like fully mainstream yet. And I love games, and they're fun. They can make anything more fun, unless you're playing with someone who will like cut you.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's why a game like Pit is fun, because it gets everybody talking and everybody kind of like, it gets the party kind of going.
Gets the party started.
Yeah, that's right. And because you want, especially if like if I'm entertaining, I usually have people who don't know each other. So a good game like Pit is a good one, because it's getting everyone kind of talking, and because you end up screaming like maniacs when you play Pit. But anyway, but Life is pretty fun. I enjoy that. And yeah, I like Cranium. That one's fun. There's just a lot
I haven't played that in a while.
Fun games. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cranium is fun because it kind of combines all of the games into one game.
Oh, that's fun.
There's like charades, and there's like drawing, and there's like trivia. It's all together.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. But then there's also, of course, like Scrabble.
Yes. Oh, my mom kicks everyone's butt at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom will destroy anyone at Scrabble.
Yeah. All right. Well, so then she's thinking of moving to Chicago. And she says, maybe it's time to take a chance. And then she finds out about all of this bank account. She found out all this bank account stuff. And she's considering asking Tom to be the whistleblower. And she's talking to Michelle Morgan about it. And she says, well, you're obviously falling for this guy, because a year ago that wouldn't have even been a question. That would have been a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And so she's, getting kind of attached, and he's just like a very, very optimistic guy who can't imagine these bank people doing. He's obviously never seen a Hallmark movie, because if he had, he would know that bad men of business are no good.
Bad men of business. Hello.
Yeah. So she tells him about the bank account kind of thing. And she says, when the story breaks, you and I can't be together. It's an ethical nightmare. And he says, I'm not a sensible guy. I'm not throwing this all away for something that might happen. And then we get a really good line. Would kissing you right now be 35 or 65 miles an hour? And then she doesn't. There were like 3 times in the story. I was like, kiss, for goodness sakes, you people, what is wrong with you? And then she leaves.
You're like, come on.
Yeah. She was also very, very proud of herself about this. She said Happy New Year in Mandarin. She was very excited, which I don't blame her. Like that's
hard.
Hard.
It's a hard language.
but she loves doing these storytelling open mic things. And he's like, I don't know, that sounds challenging. I'm not going to do that. And he says that, has anyone ever told you might have a problem with overcommitting? You are worth making time for, which was that was very cute.
And that also resonated. I was like, yes, I do overcommit. Thank you for reminding me, sir.
Then we get another almost kiss. I'm like,
come on.
And so then they play checkers together, and this was a good scene. I thought a well-written scene. It says, our reactions to chaos are very opposite. I tend to slow down and pull back, and you keep moving on. The struggle, though, is the same.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think what's interesting about that is that I feel like for someone who slows down and pauses, and for someone who goes through that, they can balance each other out, actually. And so for me, something like that, I'm like, I think they could work well. But what are your thoughts on it?
I don't know. Like, I feel like my reaction to chaos is definitely sort of anxiety. Like, I don't handle, that's why I'm glued to my calendar and my plans. Like, I may not be a big goal setter, but I'm definitely, I like having order to things. And
it's probably frustrating to experience chaos with someone who might not go about it the same way you do. Right. So like, at the same time, if you both are like, then that doesn't help in chaos either. Right. Or if both people are organized, well, then it's my organization that, like, so sometimes I think responding to chaos in the same way can be problematic, but I think it's frustrating when someone experiences or reacts to chaos differently. And that's why it's important to understand like partners or people you're dating or friends or family, how they respond to things, so that we can be better prepared for managing their reactions to chaos, right? And working together on it. And that seems like what relationships are. Chaos for me is I hate it. But at the same time, like I am very much the person where I'm like, I have calendars and planners everywhere. Do I use them? No. So like I have a want to organize my chaos, but the chaos takes me.
Yeah.
So I need some of your organization, Rachel.
Well, and it's my chaos. Well, what looks like chaos to most people is actually like makes sense to me, right? So if somebody were to try to kind of organize my chaos, then I would have a problem.
Yeah, you're like, get out of my chaos.
Yeah.
Let me handle it myself.
But then they go to I can't remember what it was. It was some kind of formal.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was her birthday, I think. But anyway, he looked super hot in the tux.
So sorry, I was like, wait, what happened? Yeah, it was her birthday.
Yeah. And she looked beautiful.
Yeah.
We don't see tuxes that often in Hallmark movies.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because usually it's like small town, hometown, like
guy. Not the city. So yeah. And then also like budget wise, I wonder like how
maybe
much it costs to rent.
But he looked hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't mad about it.
And then they dance and then they finally kiss.
Finally. I know Rachel was experiencing chaos until that moment happened. You're like, finally.
So then he finds out from his side of things about the fraud.
Yeah.
And he's like, should I go and tell Kelly about it? And Adam Hertog's character convinces him, no, don't do that. Wait and see how it plays out. And he's kind of debating. And then they have, I guess, no, it was actually her birthday was the Gatsby one. I can't remember what that other one was, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I
watched it today. I'm already like, wait, what happened?
Anyway, there's the Gatsby themed party,
which is fun.
And then he gives her the Velveteen Rabbit, which was so sweet.
Yes.
And that is a book that I read when I was little. I actually had a little Velveteen Rabbit.
Yeah, like there was like a little pocketbook and it came with the
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so then of course he's trying to tell her that he knows about, because he'd had this meeting with the two executives that were not good. The young
bad men
Wolf of Wall Street
business
types. Bad men of business. He's ready to tell her, but then before she finds out from Michelle Morgan, and so then she breaks up with him, and then he tries to tell. He says to the boss, like to his boss, we need to fix this. Like this is fraud. And he's like, just stay in your lane, the boss. And I'm like, this is the company that has like full-time event planning, but they don't care that they have this major PR nightmare.
You're a bank. And yeah, you should be kind of concerned about optics. But also as you're like recounting what happens, I'm already like, yeah, too much fraud.
Yeah.
It just pass it along to the FBI or whoever and let them take care of it.
They had enough conflict about, honestly, they could have had this whole movie and the only conflict being them being different and are they going to move to Chicago? Like that would have been fine.
This is getting convoluted because I really don't like, I get fraud, but I don't like. I once covered the case on my true crime podcast about Kwame Kilpatrick and trying to understand all the corruption stuff. I was like, there's so many terms and things. Like I was like, this is confusing. And so too much for my brain.
I love like Ponzi schemes, and I mean not in real life, but like
but
watching
like
shows.
stories and things like that.
Yeah, I think
Sometimes for me, I'm like fraud. I'm like, unless it's like stealing someone's identity or like pretending to die, like those stories, I'm like, ooh, they've taken on a whole nother identity.
Yeah,
I find it.
I mean, I love those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
Like did you ever watch McMillions?
I haven't seen that yet.
It's so good. You gotta watch it. It was like my first love at the beginning of the pandemic. It was
well, here's the thing. But if I was like, Rachel, I need some things to watch, I'd probably have about 600 movies on my list. And unfortunately, I have a job. And they don't pay me to watch movies, sadly.
I know. But anyway, I really enjoy those kinds of things, but it just doesn't fit in this type of movie. It does with
the big city part, but it also just feels heavy-handed because it feels like too much for the beginning of a relationship. You know what I mean? Like, or like a start of something like it just feels like there's no way that I could imagine them carrying on because it seems like too much. And so, but isn't sort of, I don't want to say the point, but isn't part of what's enjoyable about Hallmark is that you have hope that they're going to get together, and the fraud and the confusion over it. I'm like,
well, and I mean, I feel like she would kind of hold off on the judgment a little bit because it's not like he's committing the fraud.
No, but it's still just like a lot.
It is a lot. It is. So then he decides he quits his job and he'll go on record, and he speaks out. It goes viral, and it's the high pressure sales culture forced them to create fake accounts. And then I did think it was so cute. Not only did he send her like 5 different arrangements of flowers, but he also sent her the SAR game, which was so cute. I love that.
That's like, once you like have something amongst each other, like really playing off of that, that's a good move.
Yeah.
I liked it.
And basically all of her friends think that she should give him another chance.
Do it.
Then she says she's moving to Chicago.
Boo.
She's going to be on Good Morning Chicago. And then we get to the storyboard place, I forget what they called it. But anyway, and she's giving this speech, and she says, I wasn't open to all the exciting things that could go right. There were possibilities I hadn't even thought of, like falling in love. Adorable.
See, that's why unless he's coming to Chicago, you shouldn't be going anywhere. Say yes to staying, or say yes for him going.
Story time. And it's once and then he speaks and he says, once you're real, you can't be ugly except to people who don't understand. And then Kelly is the most authentic person I've ever known. She made me real. And he got a job in Chicago too.
Yay! So he said yes, but like the deal was that she was supposed to. That was her resolution. But like, well, I think they probably ended up in a better position. The only thing that I hate about it is like, so you're just gonna leave your group of friends then?
That's true.
For a dude? That's their friendship person. Sorry.
That's the thing though. That's what I was saying. Like that they
like changes in life. You definitely, you're gonna be in different locations and things like that. And there's lots of ways to stay connected though. Like me and 5 of my friends, we have a group text, and so like that's going like every day, memes, TikToks, just what's going on. I mean,
we all have certainly realized that over the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel
that's
like you can, and like I feel connected to you, and we don't live in the same state. We get to once a month do this, but I also, engage with you online and see what you're posting and be like, ooh, yeah, there was something, and that was happening. I was like, oh, Rachel isn't gonna like that. And then I saw you post like, oh, I was like, I knew it. I don't remember what the topic was.
I sometimes need more of a filter.
No, you're fine. But it just reminds me that although face to face is the best and we want to be in the same
Yeah.
location, that if there's people that we want in our lives, that we can still make it work though too. Like there's lots of ways to stay connected, and sometimes we might just have to be a little bit more creative, you know.
It's true. And I mean, and you can visit, and and that was one of the goals I had last year. Again, once I became vaccinated, there'd been all these people that I had become friends with that I hadn't met, that I'd thought about it before. I'd been like, oh, I don't know. And then I was just like, nope, I'm going to meet, you know, my friend Jennifer in Texas. I'm going to meet, you know, just a whole bunch of people. Marissa in LA. There were a bunch of people that I finally connected with in person last year.
Mount Pleasant, Michigan doesn't excite you?
You know what? Actually, it might be fun, because I would go back to my old mission stomping grounds in Indiana.
Yeah,
and then head up. Angola. But
you can come here and we can go to Ponder. They have the best waffles ever.
Very tempting. Very tempting.
Yes.
So yes. So I think this movie is pretty fun. I think the script is good. I like that it's a little bit different and focuses on
you need something after all the Christmas movies.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the girl goes back to the small town, and I mean, at least it's kind of a different story. And I think that it has a pretty good cast. Maybe not the best chemistry, but pretty good cast, pretty good script. So overall, I enjoyed watching it, and it was fun. It was a fun movie to watch to bring in the new year.
Yeah. And also I think there's lots of fun things to talk about with the movie, right?
That's what
as we've obviously done. So
So let us know what you think, if you're listening, of a New Year's resolution. Did you like it, not like it? We'd love to hear your thoughts, and in the comment section or on Twitter. And Alysa, where can people find you?
Yes, I'm friends with Alysa on Gmail, the web, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm friends W Alysa on Twitter. And I'm also Dr. Alysa Lucas is my personal Twitter, where I mainly talk about TV. And follow Rachel.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So you can see my hot takes on there, evidently. And make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod and the Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews, 5 stars on all of our podcasts. We sure appreciate it. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store. Take a look at that. And thanks so much, Alysa. And we will talk again next month.
That sounds great. Bye. Happy New Year.